Can improving the bedtime routine actually translate to better sleep for your learner? The answer is actually yes. Planning for a structured and well thought out routine can actually improve the quality of sleep and increase the value of sleep for your learner. If you're in a position where you're looking to improve your learner's sleep quality, then stick around. In this video, we're going to go over 2 key points. 1, how to plan for a routine that sets up for better sleep, and 2, what elements to include that will help to prepare your learner and increase the value of sleep. So let's get started. Here, hopefully the living room won't be too distracting. I do have my little dog here. April. So you hopefully won't hear her, but I do want to go over how do we set up and plan for a good routine. So in a prior video, I already talked about how to do the interview process, how to ask questions that in a way that you can get some of the really good information that you need from the family in order to start this next step. So definitely check that out. So one of the first things that you are going to want to make sure that you have in place, one of the elements is going to be understanding and having already identified the bedtime and the wake time. So this is important. You're going to have to work with the families on this. You're going to also have to know how much time your learner needs to sleep based on their age. But with identifying the bedtime and the wake time, what you're looking to do is you're looking to help the family stabilize their child's circadian rhythm. So by looking to stabilize the circadian rhythm, what we're looking to do is ensure that the body's producing melatonin during the hours where sleep is going to be expected, leading up to sleep. And we want to have cortisol during the daylight hours, starting off in the morning, so that our learner is alert during the day when they need to learn. And then during the evening hours, they're preparing for sleep by producing melatonin. You also want to make sure that you have identified a cue with that family. What type of cue is going to signal the start of the bedtime routine? Very important. We want the student, or the learner, I should say, to understand that the expectations have now changed and we're going into the bedtime routine. So we want to make that very salient for them so that they understand that the expectation is changing and that sleep is becoming available. Another part of planning for the routine is knowing what activities you're going to have planned into the routine. So this takes some conversation with the family. You want to know what absolutely needs to be part of the routine. Is there going to be dinner involved? Do we have a bath time? Is there family time that they like to have? Things like that. So what does the family want to include into the routine? And then you also need to take into account what the child does enjoy that we can also include into the routine, so that the structure is not all about difficult activities. There is an embedding of preferred activities into the routine if the activities the parents have already selected are not really preferred. By adding things that the child enjoys into the routine, we're also helping to reduce anxiety associated with the bedtime routine and hopefully securing that transitions will not be so problemsome. You also want to make sure that you have identified with the family where the sleep space is going to be. It doesn't matter to you really where the sleep space is, so long as it's a space that the child can sleep in. So living room, of course, is probably not going to be the best bet. However, if they're choosing to co-sleep, if the child shares a room with a sibling, that's fine. You just want to make sure that the parent understands that the routine is going to end in the designated sleep space. That's going to be very important. Another part when you're planning for the routine is discussing with the family that consistency is going to be very important as well. So we don't want to just run the bedtime routine maybe Monday through Thursday and then give up Friday and Saturday and Sunday and then try and restate that routine on Monday. It's going to be difficult for the learner to understand when it's on and when it's off, even with the use of visuals. We want to make sure the family understands that they're going to want to do this every single day in order to achieve the best outcome for their child, to stabilize the circadian rhythm, to teach the routine, and to hopefully next improve sleep quality. So that's the type of things that you want to take into account when you're planning for the routine at its onset. Now let's discuss a little bit about what elements you need to consider to put into that routine. So the first one I'm going to hit is visual supports. I don't think anybody who is watching this video is going to be surprised that a recommendation to include visual supports has been added. So I did do a video on the importance of visuals and how to use them, different option types, so you can check that out. But separate from that, you really want to look at visuals that work for your learner. So are you looking at an O-ring with icons that you're just flipping over? Is the parent going to be using a phone and just swiping through pictures on their phone because it's easier for them to transition through the house that way? Are you looking at a centralized schedule that shows to do all done, and maybe the child is moving the icons back and forth, or maybe they're checking off boxes as they've completed different elements? Or are you looking at a small first then board that really is just showing them currently what they're doing and what they're going to be doing next, and then you're just changing those icons as you go through the schedule? So you want to base that on your learner, their style, and what's going to be easiest for the family to implement as well. Another element that is part of the bedtime routine is you need to know that you're starting 1 hour before bed. You can start between an hour to an hour and a half, but typically speaking, families can start an hour before bedtime, and that should provide you enough time to go through the routine, to have certain elements in there, and to also have the child in a calm state leading up to bedtime. Another part that is an element you don't want to include is the screen time. So screens and the blue light that comes from them, it's notorious that it excites the brain, and you really don't want to be looking at screens in the hour prior to bedtime. We want to replace those leisure skills, if that's the learner's leisure skill, with other activities. So if the learner does need to use a screen at some point because it does fill up the time and they maybe don't have a lot of skill set or a lot of activities that you can include into the bedtime routine, then work with the family to include that at the top or the beginning end of the routine, and make sure that it's something that the child does not have directly in their face, and is also something that is not done in a dark room. So we can make a caveat to how screen time can be used. It's preferable that it's not included in the routine. However, we understand that some of our learners maybe just don't have a battery of leisure skills or chores that they can engage in that help them with their anxiety, help them to remain calm. So if that's the case, just work with the family to keep it at the top end of the routine and to cut it off within the first 15 minutes of the routine. And then hopefully they can sweep through the rest of the routine with activities that they have already pre-identified as what they need to do during the night. Another element you want to take into account is activity level. So ideally, your learner should be getting their activity needs met during the day, whether that be at school, maybe they have home program and people are coming to the house and working with the learner, but you want to make sure that the activity is occurring during the day. So they're expelling energy, they're getting sunlight, they're able to really get it all out. During the bedtime routine, the opposite is going to be true. You're going to be focusing on the fact that this learner really needs to start being in a calm state. You want to help them to produce quietude, so to speak. So what type of things, what elements do you need to include into this routine that will help do just that? So for some learners, it might be things like a swing that they have in the house that they don't go a little too amped on. It's a calming sensation for them. That might be one thing you want to include. For other learners, extending the bath time or the shower is something that might be viable for the family and the learner responds to. Other things to think about are, what does the child do during their educational time that they are calm during? So is it easy errorless file folders? Do they enjoy puzzles? Do they have a play activity schedule that we can put into the routine, even if it's a shortened play activity schedule? Do they enjoy sensory items that they can have access to that don't overexcite them? Do they go on a walk, or can they go on a walk with their family at night during part of the routine? So think about what would help induce more calm and keep the learner in more of a quiet state, so that they're not accelerating their energy, accelerating themselves in the hour prior to bedtime. Another huge element when it comes to the routine is you want to make sure that the parents understand that the order of the routine needs to stay the same. So when you're thinking about building your routine, you want to structure it with the family in a way that they understand that the order will be the same day to day. So you're going to go from, let's say, playing with their toys, maybe to dinner, and then they're moving to a bath or a shower. Then maybe they're helping to pack up their snacks the next day. Then they're getting changed into their jammies, or jammies first, then packing up their snacks, and then they're ending in their sleep space. So the order of the routine has to be something that the family can viably do every single day. The reason the order is so important is that it also helps to cue your learner that sleep is becoming available. If the order of the routine stays the same, you can change the activities so they can play with different things, they can pack different snacks. Those activities change. The order is what we're interested in. The order is going to help cue your learner that not only has something changed and sleep is becoming imminent, but these are the steps that lead up to sleep. I'm really excited that my dog didn't bark at all during the taping of this video, but there you have it. Not only how to plan for a routine, but also what elements to include into your routine. So stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be on lagging skills or skills that you want to help develop in your learner. And these are skills that occur during the routine and can really cause problems if the child is maybe not fluent or is demonstrating difficulty with them. So stick around.